There's a moment of devastating clarity when you realize that you've been living your entire life as a prisoner of other people's opinions. Every decision filtered through the question, what will they think? Every authentic impulse suppressed by the fear, what if they judge me? Every dream deferred because it doesn't fit what others consider acceptable or impressive. Friedrich Nietzsche understood that this psychological slavery to others' opinions isn't just uncomfortable, it's the fundamental betrayal of your own existence. Nietzsche wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle not to be overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened, but no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself." He knew that caring about others' opinions is perhaps the most sophisticated form of self-betrayal, where you voluntarily hand over the authorship of your life to people who don't understand your nature, don't share your values, and often don't even genuinely care about your well-being. Today, I want you to understand why Nietzsche believed that liberation from the tyranny of others' opinions isn't just personal freedom, it's what he called the becoming of the overman, the evolution from someone who lives according to external validation to someone who creates their own values and meaning. This isn't about becoming arrogant or inconsiderate. It's about what Nietzsche called the courage of your own convictions, the strength to live according to your authentic nature, regardless of others' approval or disapproval. And before we explore Nietzsche's revolutionary insights on freeing yourself from the prison of others' opinions, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below. I want to know, what's one authentic part of yourself that you've been hiding because you're afraid of others' judgment? Your honesty might help someone else find the courage to be real. The first thing Nietzsche understood about the tyranny of others' opinions is that it's not actually about caring what specific people think. It's about what he called the internalized judge, the voice in your head that constantly evaluates your thoughts, feelings, and actions according to imaginary standards that you believe others hold. This internalized judge is often harsher and more restrictive than any actual person's opinion would be. Nietzsche observed that most people carry around what he called a tribunal of ghosts, an imaginary court of critics who are constantly passing judgment on their authenticity. You might worry about what your parents would think about a career choice they'll never fully understand. You might fear judgment from people whose approval you don't even genuinely want. You might modify your behavior based on the imagined reactions of people who don't share your values and wouldn't appreciate your authentic nature anyway. This internalized tribunal becomes what Nietzsche called the tyrant within, more oppressive than any external authority because it operates constantly, unconsciously, automatically filtering every authentic impulse through the question of social acceptability. You become your own worst enemy, suppressing your genuine nature not because anyone specifically told you to, but because you've internalized a generalized fear of judgment that prevents authentic self-expression. Nietzsche understood that this internal tyranny is often more restrictive than external social pressure because real people are usually too busy dealing with their own lives to spend much time judging yours. But the internalized judge never rests, never stops evaluating, never stops finding your authentic impulses inadequate according to imaginary standards of social acceptability. Number 1. Understand that most people's opinions are worthless because they don't know themselves. Nietzsche had a brutal but liberating insight about human psychology. Most people's opinions about how you should live are worthless because they haven't figured out how to live authentically themselves. He called this the blind leading the blind, where people who are living according to others' expectations try to impose those same expectations on you. When someone criticizes your authentic choices, when they tell you that you're being too selfish, too ambitious, too unconventional, too anything that deviates from social norms, Nietzsche would ask, Are they living according to their own authentic values, or are they just repeating the social programming they've never questioned? Most of the time, people who are quick to judge others' authenticity are those who have never developed their own. Nietzsche called this the revenge of the inauthentic, the way that people who have betrayed their own nature unconsciously try to prevent others from living authentically, because authentic living reminds them of their own self-betrayal. They can't stand to see you being genuinely yourself because it highlights their own inauthenticity. This understanding is liberating because it means that the opinions that hurt you most, the judgments that make you question your authentic choices, often come from people whose own lives are built on compromise, conformity, and the fear of being genuinely themselves. Why would you modify your authentic nature to please people who don't even like their own lives? Nietzsche believed that you should only consider the opinions of people who have demonstrated the courage to live authentically themselves, who have struggled with the same questions of meaning and self-determination that you're facing. Everyone else's opinion is just the noise of the herd, the unconscious repetition of social programming, rather than genuine wisdom about how to live. Write in the comments now, "I only value authentic opinions." Say it like you're declaring your independence from the judgments of people who haven't done their own inner work. Number 2, recognize that caring about others' opinions is a form of cowardice disguised as virtue. Nietzsche had a particularly sharp insight about why people become addicted to others' approval. It's not actually about being kind or considerate. It's about avoiding the responsibility and risk that comes with authentic self-determination. Caring about others' opinions becomes what he called moral cowardice, using the appearance of virtue to avoid the courage that authentic living requires. When you live according to others' expectations, you never have to take full responsibility for your choices, because you can always blame your decisions on social pressure, family expectations, or cultural norms. If your life doesn't turn out the way you wanted, you can say, "I was just doing what everyone expected," rather than acknowledging that you chose safety over authenticity. Nietzsche called this the escape from freedom, the unconscious strategy of avoiding the anxiety and responsibility that comes with genuine self-determination by letting others make your important life decisions for you. It feels safer to follow others' opinions about your career, relationships, and lifestyle, because then you don't have to face the possibility of making mistakes or failing while being authentically yourself. But Nietzsche understood that this safety is an illusion, because living according to others' opinions guarantees a specific type of failure, the failure to ever discover and express your authentic nature. You might avoid the risk of being judged for your genuine choices, but you ensure the certainty of being disconnected from your own life. He believed that the person who lives according to others' opinions is like someone who spends their entire life performing in a play they didn't write, playing a character they didn't choose, following a script that doesn't reflect their actual thoughts, feelings, or values. This might be socially acceptable, but it's what Nietzsche called spiritual suicide, the death of your authentic self in service of social approval. Number 3, develop what Nietzsche called intellectual independence. One of Nietzsche's most powerful concepts for liberation from others' opinions is the development of intellectual independence, the capacity to think for yourself rather than just adopting the thoughts and values of your social environment. This doesn't mean being contrarian or rejecting everything others believe. It means developing your own relationship with truth, meaning, and value. Intellectual independence requires what Nietzsche called the courage to question everything, including the beliefs and values you've inherited from your family, culture, and social environment. Instead of automatically accepting that certain things are important because others say they are, you examine these values against your own experience and determine what actually matters to you. This process often reveals that many of the things you've been seeking, others' approval for pursuing certain careers for status, maintaining certain relationships for social acceptance, accumulating certain possessions for image, aren't actually important to you personally. They're important to the social environment you've been trying to fit into, but they don't align with your authentic nature or genuine desires. Nietzsche called this process the revaluation of all values, the courageous examination of everything you've been taught to consider important, meaningful, or worthwhile. When you develop intellectual independence, you stop automatically caring about others' opinions because you've developed your own standards for what constitutes a life well lived. This doesn't make you arrogant or closed-minded. It makes you what Nietzsche called a free spirit, someone who can consider others' perspectives without being enslaved by their approval or disapproval. Hit like if you're ready to develop intellectual independence, and subscribe if you want more insights into Nietzsche's philosophy of authentic freedom. Number 4, understand that authentic self-expression is a gift to the world, not a selfish act. Nietzsche had a revolutionary understanding of authenticity that directly challenges the social programming that makes people afraid of being genuinely themselves. He understood that when you express your authentic nature, when you live according to your genuine values and desires, you're not being selfish, you're contributing something original and valuable to human experience. Every person has what Nietzsche called a unique perspective on existence, a way of seeing, thinking, feeling, and creating that no one else can contribute. When you suppress this authentic perspective to fit social expectations, you rob the world of something irreplaceable. You deny humanity the gift of your original contribution to art, thought, relationship, and cultural evolution. Nietzsche believed that the fear of others' judgment prevents most people from offering their authentic gifts to the world. They're so worried about being criticized, misunderstood, or rejected that they never develop or express their genuine talents, insights, and creative capacity. This is what he called the tragedy of conformity, the way that social pressure prevents the very diversity and originality that makes human culture vibrant and evolving. When you have the courage to be authentically yourself despite others' potential judgment, you give others permission to be authentic as well. Your willingness to live genuinely becomes what Nietzsche called a beacon of possibility, showing others that it's possible to be real in a world that often rewards performance and conformity. This understanding transforms the entire frame around caring about others' opinions. Instead of seeing authenticity as potentially selfish or inconsiderate, you begin to see conformity as the real selfishness, because it deprives the world of your unique contribution while enabling others to remain unconscious and inauthentic. Number 5, cultivate what Nietzsche called amor fati, love of your own fate. Perhaps Nietzsche's most powerful tool for liberation from others' opinions is the development of amor fati, the love of your own destiny, including all of its challenges, struggles, and unconventional aspects. When you genuinely love your own path, when you're excited about becoming who you're meant to be, others' opinions about your choices become irrelevant. Amor fati means embracing not just the pleasant aspects of authentic living, but also the difficulties, the loneliness that sometimes comes with being genuine, the misunderstanding that authentic people often face, the responsibility of creating your own meaning rather than inheriting it from others. When you love your fate completely, you stop needing others to approve of it. This love of your own destiny creates what Nietzsche called inner joy, a satisfaction that comes from living in alignment with your authentic nature, regardless of external circumstances or others' reactions. You become what he called self-justifying, someone who doesn't need external validation because your choices are validated by their alignment with your genuine nature. When you develop amor fati, criticism doesn't devastate you because you're not dependent on others' approval for your sense of worth. Praise doesn't inflate your ego because you're not using external validation to feel good about yourself. You become what Nietzsche called emotionally sovereign, someone whose emotional state comes from within rather than from others' reactions. Write in the comments, "I love my authentic path." Say it like you're declaring your commitment to your own destiny, regardless of others' opinions about it. But here's where Nietzsche's philosophy becomes truly revolutionary. He understood that stopping caring about others' opinions isn't the end goal. It's the beginning of what he called the creative life, the existence where you become the author of your own values, meaning and purpose, rather than just inheriting these things from social conditioning. When you're no longer enslaved by the need for approval, when you're no longer paralyzed by the fear of judgment, you can finally begin what Nietzsche called the great experiment of self-creation, consciously choosing who you become, rather than just unconsciously adapting to others' expectations. This creative life isn't about doing whatever you want without consideration for others. It's about what Nietzsche called self-mastery, developing such clear knowledge of your authentic values and genuine nature that you can engage with others from strength rather than neediness, from choice rather than compulsion, from authenticity rather than performance. The person who has stopped caring about others' opinions in the way Nietzsche advocated doesn't become antisocial or inconsiderate. They become more genuinely connected to others because their relationships are based on authentic affinity rather than the mutual need for validation. They become more truly generous because their giving comes from abundance rather than from the hope of receiving approval in return. And this is where Nietzsche's vision becomes both personal and cultural. He understood that individuals who liberate themselves from the tyranny of others' opinions don't just improve their own lives, they contribute to what he called the evolution of consciousness, the gradual development of a more authentic, creative, and individuated human culture. When you have the courage to live authentically despite potential judgment, when you express your genuine nature regardless of social pressure, when you create your own values instead of just inheriting collective beliefs, you become what Nietzsche called a philosopher with a hammer, someone who breaks down old, unconscious patterns and creates space for new possibilities. Your authentic life becomes a question mark that challenges others to examine their own authenticity. Your genuine choices force others to confront whether they're living according to their own values or just following social programming. Your courage to be real inspires others to consider whether they might also have the strength to live genuinely. So if you've been living according to others' expectations, if you've been modifying your authentic nature to gain approval, if you've been afraid to express your genuine thoughts, feelings, and desires because of potential judgment, Nietzsche would tell you that this isn't kindness or consideration. It's self-betrayal disguised as virtue. The world doesn't need another person performing acceptability. The world needs you to have the courage to be genuinely yourself, to contribute your authentic perspective, to offer your original gifts, regardless of whether others understand or approve. Learn to distinguish between others' wise counsel and their unconscious programming. Practice expressing your authentic thoughts and feelings in safe contexts, gradually expanding your comfort zone for being real. Develop your own relationship with meaning and value, rather than just adopting collective beliefs. Cultivate love for your own path, including its challenges and unconventional aspects. When you do this work, when you develop the courage to stop caring about others' opinions in the way Nietzsche advocated, you don't just free yourself from psychological slavery, you become capable of contributing something genuinely original to human experience. Write in the comments now, "I own my authentic life." Say it like you're declaring your independence from the tyranny of others' opinions and your commitment to the creative adventure of genuine self-determination. This is Friedrich Nietzsche's profound gift to anyone seeking authentic freedom. The understanding that caring about others' opinions is often a form of spiritual cowardice, that most people's judgments are worthless because they come from unconscious conformity rather than authentic wisdom, and that the courage to live genuinely is not selfish, but essential for both personal fulfillment and cultural evolution. If this message resonates with you, if you're ready to stop being a prisoner of others' opinions and start being the author of your own authentic existence, then you've found your community. Subscribe to join others who understand that the courage to be genuinely yourself is both the most challenging and the most important work you can do in this lifetime. Because when you stop caring about others' opinions in the way Nietzsche advocated, you don't just change your own life, you become a force for authentic cultural transformation, showing others that it's possible to be real in a world that often rewards performance, and that this authenticity is not just personally liberating, but collectively necessary for the evolution of human consciousness.